What made a complete breakthrough in my career was the slogan that I imposed that was a mobile in the hand of everyone. When I started to launch Mobinil in Egypt, the idea of everyone having a mobile was considered a dream.
Hi, guys. I'm Dan Al Hanbali, and this is Something to Consider. My next guest is someone who helped shape how an entire nation connects. Osman Sultan is the founding CEO of Do and one of the most respected business leaders in the region. Over 15 years, he built Do from an idea into one of the UAE's most recognized brands, leading it through innovation, competition, and transformation. Today, as chairman of Fikra Tech and a board advisor, he continues to explore how leadership, technology, and human connection can redefine progress. Arthman, such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to take a step back, actually, and start at the very beginning. When we talk about you being a founding CEO, we're talking about you being a visionary that had to create something that still did not exist, which is something that a lot of entrepreneurs have to deal with. So my question to you is, what is that even like? How does one build something that has not yet come to existence?
It's a very, very accurate question. To answer this, I want to distinguish two dimensions. Saying it did not even exist, the company did not even exist, but the activity was absolutely known, used already in various countries since years. I did it myself before in Egypt, where I was founding CEO of Mobinid. So it's not, I think the second dimension is how you position that company, that entity that you're creating in a space that is so rapidly evolving. I just want to remind you that when I started to launch Mobinil in Egypt, the idea of having everyone having a mobile was considered a dream. I always, very often say it, what made a complete breakthrough in my career was the slogan that I imposed that was a mobile in the hand of everyone. No one believed. The head of the regulatory authority that was receiving the bids that we were doing to get the license was saying, but do you imagine that one day the electrician, the taxi driver, the plumber will have mobiles? In a time where it was really the privilege of, some happy few businessmen, etc. So that is the part where I like to think, yes, there was a vision where this is going. When I arrived to the UAE 9 years after, the mobile was already in the hand of everyone. One characteristic in 2005, the UAE had the highest penetration rate. Penetration rate is the percentage of people using mobile telephony as percentage of the population, the total population. It has by far the highest penetration rate in the world. And never before it was seen like the second player was entering in a market where penetration was 100%. When we entered in Egypt, penetration was not even 1%. Yeah, a country of, at the time, 95 million people, and you have 30,000 people using mobile. So see the ratio. So the vision had to be completely different. Where is this going? So at the time, the idea of the second and the most important breakthrough, because I just noticed that actually, you know what? It's not anymore about connectivity. It's not anymore about being reachable when you are far, when you are remote or receiving messages. This thing that we carry, that we can't leave home without, was changing everything we do in our life. It was not anymore, we were not dealing with the shop where we go buy things. We were not dealing with the banks. We were not dealing with buying. We were not dealing with entertainment the same way. So this is where the thing that I think Do had completely in advance of any, they add life to life. We were changing lives with this thing. That was the time where social network, 2005, the beginning of people starting to know about about Facebook. WhatsApp didn't exist at the time. All these applications, the Uber of this world and all this, so this is where vision, I hope that my modesty will not be scarred, vision come to play.
Okay, interesting. I love how you keep bringing it back to this point about connection and accessibility. I'll be very honest with you. I've never been someone who has loved the telecom industry because I find it to be an industry that is quite tense. It's always in competition with our everyday life. So my question to you is, especially because it feels like a space that is built on monopoly more than creativity, from your perspective, how do you keep something so big and so regulated still human and very innovative?
Generally speaking, not only in telco, but specifically, even more importantly for telco, keeping it human is what matters. I've had in several conferences saying it, technology, human first in technology. Seeing how people will interact, seeing how people will use it. Then the buzzword of customer experience started to be everywhere because everything becoming digital. And today, even if I jump a little bit, with AI, how do we make sure that we keep human at the heart of everything? Because that's a big challenge.
Yeah.
For the first time in history of humanity, we are creating a technology that can decide by itself, that we know exceed what we can do, will exceed the brain of humans, if not didn't yet. So I think there are a lot of good questions that we have to ask. How we can make this wonderful tool that is artificial intelligence work for us and not at some point work against us.
All very valid points. And I think what's interesting about your journey, because mashallah, you've been in this industry for, not to go back to age, but you've been in this industry long enough to have seen multiple generations experience it in different ways.
I've been 40 years.
Mashallah.
24 of these, I've been CEO. I had that. So when you are CEO, you are at the vantage point where we see the various dimensions, the various layers. And that, listen, it was fun every day. Every day that I woke up, it was fun, passion, sweat, blood, and tears as well.
I'm sure.
But it was so keeping it human, keeping it simple.
Keeping it human, keeping it simple, but how do you keep it relevant? Because mashallah, being someone who was able to lead multiple generations that were experiencing some of the fastest transformation, I think, ever recorded historically, brings with it a lot of challenges. So how does one stay relevant? Industry that keeps changing faster than we can even compete in.
You are stubborn on the vision, but since you said it very rightly, things are changing. You know that you have to be flexible on the execution. You have the vision, a mobile in the hand of everyone. I was sure, even when people said, no, it's overpromising, etc. I was sure this is happening. When you taste it, you can't live without it. So this is, but how? You have to be every day, something is happening. I have to adjust, I have to adapt, I have to be flexible. That's, I think, the recipe.
I think another thing that's quite incredible about your journey is that you have managed to build a career for yourself in the corporate world, which is something, especially in this day and age, an age of hustle and hyper independence, a lot of people are swaying away from because they're worried about what corporate culture does to innovation and creativity. I'd love to hear more about your insights of the discipline that comes with working in corporate.
That's a very important topic. And I think that the jury is still out. I don't think that we can have just, answers, but we can ask some relevant questions. Two things. First is what brilliant entrepreneurs did. And we're lucky because in the UAE, we have around us people that really succeeded. In the spot of the world, they're concentrated in the UAE. We are seeing now some In other countries, some brilliant, but the ecosystem that has been built over years here in the UAE is really encouraging. People look at this, they're tempted by the success. When you see from the souk.com to the property finder to Kareem, and all the founders are really, I pride myself that the trends. So people look at this and they see as well, big money made quickly. Some of these guys, the Mark Zuckerberg of this world and others, made in 3-4 years what in the Industrial Revolution families made in 4 generations. We have to. So that's one. The second thing that happened, in my opinion, and we underestimate, is the transformation and the way people are working during COVID. The fact that the idea, I'm going to an office 9 to 5, I'm working. Anyhow, if you want, even in the corporate world, if you want to achieve something, thinking that it could be, easy 9 to 5 is a wrong idea. It never happens. You have to put the price. I always say, I don't have time for my work. I can come at 11 o'clock in the morning because I just went home at 1 or 2 a.m. for work. That doesn't. I can be traveling in vacation and still on the phone, and my kids use always to tease me with this. But the idea that I am having all the freedom from constraints, that because the corporate world has constraints, naturally, legitimately. So I can be free of this. I'm privileged. I have 5 children aging from 36 to 21. The youngest, that's an issue to make them accept the constraints of corporate world, etc., etc. I give always an example. One of my sons works in Citibank in Dubai. He works like hell, but he doesn't work from the office. When I tell him, I'm a little bit surprised. He said, Dad, there is no place in the office they ask us to work from, which is policies that it was not when I started.
Yeah.
When I started, you're late, you arrive at 9:15, you feel that you're late. Different mindset, honestly. What you're saying is quite true. People and young generation, their dreams are different. I really like their ambition is different. We have to embrace it. And by the way, they are much more careful about keeping it human. They have on AI, they have skepticism. Why? I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to be this still. So I find it extremely refreshing. And I have hope because, see the way they approach environment. Honestly, the environment or climate change. My generation was not. Now they're very keen. My daughter is a fanatic about, environment, climate change, etc.
It's interesting because even as you're speaking to it now, it's still finding different ways to be human, but it's about being human and connecting at a different time. Today, it's in a way where intimacy and connection to your environment matters at a time when maybe you were...
Privacy. You said it.
Yeah.
Privacy.
Absolutely.
It's becoming a main issue.
Yeah, it is. Interesting. So how has your leadership style changed as a result of this?
I don't think that my leadership style changed. I always say there are 3 ways to lead. And I've seen bosses that I had. Either you lead by authority, I'm the boss, you do it this way. And you feel like there is not really readiness or appetite to discuss that. Some people, and that's as well terrible, they want to lead by consensus. In a fast-changing environment, you don't lead by consensus. Maybe the CTO has a point. Yeah, but the CFO is expressing. You don't take any action. When you lead by adhesion, which you make people adhere, you say, you know what? My job is to lead. We're going here. But then you make people be convinced. That's being a storyteller. That's being somebody who cares that to explain to. And that, I don't think my leadership style changed. But the way you are closer to people, now I am in an environment where I see a lot of entrepreneurs. I see a lot of startups. I am involved myself in some of the startups as an investor, as chairman, so the way you need to explain the multi-dimension, the different vantage point that exists is different.
How has the way they see the world influenced how you see the world now? Because I'm sure even the pulse of your life.
I learned, don't you think, I tell you something. I am involved in an application using AI for music. I'm one of the founders. I know that probably when it comes to music or the usage of music, I'm not as good as my I had my 3 boys, 26, 23, and 21, in a conference call with the founders, and I wanted their opinion. I learned from them. I learned from people around me, because the audience will not be me, will not be my generation. So this is how I do learn.
I have a lot of leaders on the show, and I usually like to ask them vulnerable questions about the cost of what it takes to be a leader and the success that comes with it. Because I feel like we always talk about what happens at the peak of the mountain. Very few people want to or care to understand what it took to get there.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you, reflecting back on your journey,
I'll answer this by one sentence that marked me. We were starting in Egypt, Mobinil. My daughter, Noor, was 6 or 7. They were living in France, and I was in Egypt, but I had to go every 2 weekends to see them. So that's a price to pay, because Egypt was that big thing. And then the UAE. She asked me one day a question: Dad, do you love me more or you love Mobinil more? The company I was always talking about, I was building. That said it all. And the reason why I deliberately wanted to stop my executive life after 24 years of being CEO of various is that I wanted to have more time for me. The price, I did not control my time or own my time for 30 years. If it was to be done again, I would do it exactly the same, because I loved it. Thank God. The relation with the children, their balance, etc., the 5, that's the blessing that I have. That's, alhamdulillah. But you ask about the price, that would be a price. The other price, but it's only normal. For years, you build relations with people that are befriending or the function, not the person. So when I left my job, you filter this. So, but this is good. The friends that you keep as friends really are real friends, and the one that we're having. So you train your ego to live with that, and you know what? That's great.
That's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I have to ask you about what you're doing now. You have a company which has a brilliant name, Fikra Tech.
I'm fond of the Arabic language.
It's a beautiful. For those of you that don't know, Fikr Tech in Arabic means your idea, but it's called Fikra Tech, so idea technology.
Idea about technology.
So please tell us what you're doing now.
What I'm doing, this is the legal structure on which we do one. I do non-executive roles. I'm chairman of one group that has 4 telecom operators in Africa called Smile, owned by a very, very successful family in Saudi Arabia. I have the privilege of being vice chairman of a company where the chairman is His Highness Sheikh Nahyan in the fiber optics in Pakistan. I am advisor of a large group as well. This is in telecom. That's one chapter, corporate. I do advise on merge and acquisition in the tech space. We have, and then startups, the third. Startups, as I said, I'm involved as founder in 2 startups. I'm 3, actually, one in education, not in AI, one in the education space. And last but not least, I call it the, people, you keep your body, I keep my mind. I think the mind as well has a risk of just go to sleep. So I wrote one book a couple of years ago called The Future is Young. I co-wrote it. I had the privilege of having Sir Richard Branson do me the preface. And I had the privilege of having Khalfan Belhol, who is the CEO of the Dubai Future Foundation, write me as well an acknowledgement. So I'm very grateful for them. And I am preparing my second book. It's almost finished, on AI.
Wow.
The title is, but not on the technology part of AI. I live with schizophrenia. On one hand, I have my hands in the kitchen in doing AI, with all the consequence. On the other hand, I say we should ask ourselves questions. A lot of people today are asking these questions, are recognizing potential risks, potential, sliding to things where not everybody is running. So if we are running, and I am among the people who are running because we can do it, because technology is allowing this, shouldn't we running by, I say, okay, guys, where are we running to, just to know? I think this is important. So real conversations need to happen. And I don't think that's happening enough.
And where are you running to? What is the thing? What is your North Star that you are heading towards?
Well, now these days, my North Star is this exhibition. And you don't run because traffic.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
Traffic doesn't allow you to run. I think we all run for happiness. And for me, there is one keyword: balance. One day, a wise man told me, which it seems this is the definition. I'll translate it in Arabic. وَمَا الْفَضِيلَةِ إِلَّا وَسَطْ بَيْنَ رَذِيلَتَيْنِ. Virtue is only a balance, a middle between two vices. If you think of it, courage is a virtue. If it lacks, cowardness. If it exceeds, recklessness. Generosity is a virtue. If it lacks, stinginess. If it exceeds, no, it's waste. سفه بالعربي. So in Arabic. So we run for happiness. We all juggle in our lives with 3 balls, depending on we hold: time, health, and wealth. Which one we hold, which one we try. At some point, you will need to let go some to catch health.
I usually end my episodes on a final consideration. I ask the guest to give me something to consider, or give you the opportunity to ask me a question. So, Ustaz Othman, what would you like to ask me?
I would like to ask you, from all what you know, and you're a person that is completely involved in the intellectual debates and questions, how comfortable you are to live in the world with all the promises of AI tomorrow.
I'm incredibly uncomfortable with it because I feel like as people, we've fallen into the trap of relying on something external to provide us with a fulfillment we have chosen not to be as aware of. So when I think about the role of AI, I think that it's an incredible tool that can empower me to do things within my life and within my ecosystem in incredible ways in terms of my productivity, the speed of which I do it. But I feel like the way that it's being framed today as a solution, I find unnerving because we are in a point in time where we have access to so much knowledge and we have so much understanding of what needs to be done, yet we are racing towards all of the external things that are going to get it done versus truly looking inward and being reflective of our role in change. We're relying on AI to change it.
Brilliant. And to feed this thought, and I'm not expecting, I had a conversation with some friends. It was meant to be a promenade of the mind, not at all for any purpose. And a brilliant young guy, very young, he's the son of one of my partners and friends. When we were talking, he used a metaphor that I really found brilliant. His name is Fuad Al-Amin. He's the son of, as I said, a friend and a partner. He said, but AI is not evolving as a construction that it's evolving like a plant by itself, because the conditions that are, the data, that the learning that this AI is having is making it evolve without us having the control on like a plant. Khalas. So that should as well make us think. But what a fascinating intellectual exercise.
I really like that question. Thank you for that. You've given me something to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and for being with us.
Thank you for these lovely questions.
And to all of our listeners, as always, I want to thank you for the privilege of your time. I hope you found something to consider.